everyone, welcome back to eclecticalu. Thank you so much for subscribing. Hello to my new subscribers. Today I got a question and it was about codependency. Codependency is less of a diagnostic and more of a behavioral dynamic in a relationship, right? It's more of something that we do. It's behaviors, okay? So with that in mind, you can change that. Behaviors, you can change them. Codependency is not that big a deal in that way. You can work on it, you can change it. Meaning not that big a deal in the sense that it's something that you can work on and change. But it's a big deal when you're in contact with a narcissist that destroys your life, that exhausts you, and that drains your and takes your blood, sucks your life out of you, okay? So that's definitely a big deal. And narcissistic abuse is a big deal, but codependency is your weakness that brought you to be more vulnerable to a narcissist. But you can totally work on it, okay? You can work on your self-esteem. You can work on identifying behaviors that are the ones that make you more codependent. Those are behaviors that the more codependent person learned growing up. If you have narcissistic parents, more likely than not, you were programmed to be codependent. You were programmed to override your judgment, to override your feelings, your emotions, your wants, your needs, your boundaries, everything in order to appease the narcissistic parent, in order to calm the beast, in order for the parent to be with a good affect, because codependents cannot stand a negative affect in the loved one, okay, in the significant other. They cannot stand it. So codependents will do anything, and I mean anything, like override themselves, forget about themselves in order for the loved one to be okay. So of course, being codependent is a perfect match for a narcissistic person, but narcissists will go for codependents, for not codependents, for regular people. Narcissists and psychopaths, malignant narcissists and psychopaths will be that, even if they are the last ones on earth. So it's not your fault that, first of all, not your fault being codependent, and it's not your fault that you attracted a narcissist. It's just that happens to be that your wound attracts narcissists, and we all have different wounds, okay? And talking about wounds, I would like to make an analogy here, because I was watching a video about a jaguar I was looking for sneaky hunters, because I think that narcissists are that, like sneaky hunters. They will observe you from afar and they will stop and get you whatever they feel is the most convenient for them. And I saw this jaguar on National Geographic, and it's a video, you can look it up. And this jaguar was observing a caiman that was sunbathing, just having fun, having the good life, enjoying the sun, completely unaware, oblivious, and naively having a good time. And then the jaguar was approaching the prey, and he got into the water, and then he crossed the river swimming very, very sneakily. And he suddenly came out and grabbed the caiman, and that's it. And the caiman froze, and that's it. And said, yeah, I thought they're very sneaky. Narcissists and psychopaths are very sneaky. But this is kind of honorable, The caiman was hungry, so he went and got food. That's nature, okay? And then I thought, you know what? Narcissists and psychopaths are viruses, parasites, bacteria. They behave like that. They exhaust a human being, and also interspecies, because it's the same species, the humans on humans, right? That's even worse. But so they enter your system through your wounds, right? Or if you have a weak immune system. So your wound or your weak immune system would be being a good person, okay? Let's call it what it is. A good person that is too much of a good person that overrides its own feeling, wants, and all that. So these guys take advantage of vulnerable people with wounds, and also people that don't have that many wounds. Okay, so normal people are also targets because they will abuse anything. That's how they relate to the world, and they will abuse anybody. So it's not like you are flawed, defective, no, you're a good person that was abused. And now you need to work on strengthening your boundaries and all that, and strengthening your immune system and healing your wounds, and which happens to be, in this case, codependency, which is what we're talking about. Codependency is a set of behaviors that were learned in childhood, where you saw that you had to please your parental figure, okay? And your parental figure was the one that wanted you to do things without paying attention to what you felt, how you felt, what you wanted to do, what you didn't want to do, to your no's. You weren't able to say no. You weren't able to listen to your own judgment. You had to override your judgment, okay, in order to deal with this parental figure. And if they were narcissists, you will have a lot of that, of codependency, okay? But it's a continuum, so there are people that have not that many behaviors like that, and there are people that behave all the time like a codependent, and a lot, very strong. But the good news is you can work on this, and you can absolutely work on this and improve this. So your problem is just being a good person that is very empathic and that tends to put others first. So you need to work on that and strengthen that, and you're not flawed. That's what I wanted to say, first of all. So the first myth is all victims of narcissistic abuse are codependent. No, not all victims of narcissistic abuse are codependent, because what I just said, definitely not. There's less of a chance, of course, but the possibility is there. Definitely not. Not only codependents will be victims of narcissistic abuse. Myth number 2. Codependents are flawed individuals. No. Listen, we all have different wounds, problems. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. It just happens that your wounds, certain behaviors that are codependent-like, will be the ones that attract most narcissists. We are all flawed. We all have different wounds. So don't ever feel bad about that, because we all have different things, okay? This makes me a bit angry. I don't like this when people say, okay, you're flawed because you're codependent. No. Excuse me, this is not the case. Quite the opposite. It's very skilled, capable, strong. He or she was strong enough and intelligent enough to be able to realize that they had to deal with this person, and they had to behave a certain way in order to survive, because parents at that age are gods to you. Those are the ones that will feed you, that will give you the means for living. So you need to please the God, an angry God, a crazy God. I think codependent people have a lot of potential, because the raw material, they are strong people. The thing is, they've been told that because they were abused, on top of that, they have to deal with the consequences of being abused by people, because they were abused. And if you've been through a narcissistic relationship, you have to deal with CPTSD and all that. And codependents are great people that need to just realize that they are good people, love themselves, put themselves first, start to be in contact with what you feel, with what you need. If you need time, take time. If you want this, do that. You have to start tasting the waters, what it feels like to do whatever it is that you really want to do, because your core self is so valuable. Those are the best people on earth. The thing is, narcissists and psychopaths go for the best people on earth because they need good people. They need people that take care of them. They cannot take care of themselves. They are dependent in that sense. They need the sustenance. They are this virus that needs the host. So they need you. You are the strong one here. The thing is, narcissists turn the tables all the time, and they made you believe that you were weak, but you are the one that takes care of them, that's always worried about them, that will always be there for them. And yeah, let's go and talk about the myths, because I won't stop talking. Being codependent is your fault. Also, because you are codependent, this is why you attracted a narcissist, and that's your fault. You know what? Being codependent is something that just happened to you because you were programmed to behave like that, okay? And one more thing. Psychopaths, malignant narcissists, cerebral narcissists, will target all kinds of people, you know, not only codependents. And so as long as there's a psychopath on earth, there will be a victim. And it doesn't have to be a codependent, the victim, okay? It can happen to anybody. Anybody that considers him or herself as a healthy person. These guys are sneaky. These are sneaky hunters, and they are parasites, and they are like that. And the more sneaky, the more cerebral, the more psychopathic they are, it's more likely that they will abuse regular people, you know. Doesn't have to be a codependent, because that's easier for them. I'll give you that. A person that behaves very codependently, but a person that is regular person, Joe, that person can be abused as well by a psychopath. So this makes me very angry when people start saying, oh, it's your fault because you're codependent. No, no, no. As long as there's a psychopath on earth, he will abuse anything that comes across him or herself, right? So it's not the victim's fault. Please stop guilt-tripping the victims, okay? No more guilt to the victim. It's enough with the guilt trips that they receive from the abusers. So stop guilt-tripping the victims, please. It's not their fault that they are codependent. If you had narcissistic parents, of course you're going to be either codependent or narcissistic, and you will be the kind of person that learned to behave in a certain way that will please the crazy parent, okay? The narcissistic parent. You were targeted because you were a good person, you know? And that's it. Codependency is being too much of a good person sometimes, you know. Too much of a good boy, too much of a good girl. When you go to therapy, you work on still keeping those good qualities of yours, because those are, to me, that's, I mean, the best kind of people on earth, okay? So keeping those qualities, but developing this other way of behaving with your significant others, where you take care of yourself, meaning you have boundaries now that protect you, you have standards, you don't override yourself, your judgment or your feelings, you pay attention to what you feel, to what your gut tells you. Then number 4 is there's no cure for codependency, and that's not the case. There's a lot you can do. It's all about the self-esteem, because when you have self-esteem, you will develop boundaries naturally, and then you develop these standards naturally. It comes up like that because you're protecting yourself now. You know, you're putting yourself in the place that you deserve to be, the leading person in your life, right? And so you have to protect yourself in order to keep living here on this earth. Myth number 5, people with codependent behavior are weak. On the contrary, I would say that they are very strong, because codependents can take a lot. You know, they go like this, and they can do anything for others, in order for others not to suffer. And so I would say codependents are the best kind of people on earth, okay? Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope I can see you next week. Please click subscribe, like, and the notification bell so that you can get my videos. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.